I'm going to show you this trailer now, and let's have a bit of a breakdown, a bit of a discussion, and we'll go around the panel and see what everyone thinks when the trailer's being played.
Haven't you ever wondered what else is out there? There's wonders in this world beyond our wandering. I can feel it.
Heroic female character. Black elf. Jason, what do you think to this? I mean, I don't know if you've seen the thumbnail for today's show, but if you have a look at the thumbnail for today's show, it tells you everything, that you've got some, high priestess of Middle Earth who, is obviously some, portly black woman. You've got the Africanized elf. You've got this female character climbing the cliff as if she is the male protagonist. What do you think of this? But also, I want to throw this at you. You're a guy who's pretty good at predicting things. What horrors does the new Middle Earth have in store? I'm going to throw this to Greg afterwards, but what do you think will be the worst thing about this? What do you think they're really going to push? Is it just going to be the racial aspect, or is there going to be, homosexual hobbits or, transgender riders of Rohan? How bad is this going to be?
I remember the riders. Yes, that's right. I could just imagine these are supposed to be some very tough guys, and you could just imagine these guys rolling up and wondering where the nearest salon would be to have their nails and hair done. Okay, good. Sounds like the mic is working well. Wow, there's a lot to this, and it is $1 billion. That's the cost, I believe, incorporates the cost of purchasing the rights as well as making the first of the series. And this news came out a couple years ago now. How long was it now? And we were very upset when we heard about this because we knew exactly what they were going to do with it, which is they were going to make it to conform to the anti-white narrative for all of the reasons why the anti-white narrative is in place to deny white people a creative venue. I want to just take this is so very important. We talk about this in the practice of going free. The subconscious mind is the mind that we live the majority of our lives in. The subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality and fiction. The anti-white oligarchs are aware of this. They never want to allow us, as a consequence, to have fiction that our minds will interpret as reality, that we will then act on. We will become brave. We will become proud. We will become heroic. We will become legendary. They don't want us to become any of that by way of the fiction that our subconscious minds interpret as reality. No, they want us to become pathetic, effete, ignoble, cowardice, confused by way of the fiction that our subconscious mind interprets as reality. And again, for those out there who are saying, well, they know the difference. And yes, consciously you do. But does your pulse not race when you read the book and the story is in a thrilling portion? Do you not sweat? Do you not feel the anxiety as you watch the movie when those portions that are intended to induce those emotions take place? If your mind was not interpreting this as reality, you would coldly, analytically just observe the art and the craft of the movie or the literature, whatever it is. And those who make these things, that's how very often they review, they observe, they interpret what's taking place in the pages on the screen. So I don't know of any evidence that Tolkien, and I haven't seen it. Now, I'm admittedly not a very knowledgeable about Tolkien, but I have a friend who is, and a brilliant, reliable individual who has gone through his works. I don't know that there is any evidence that he intended to empower Western kind against everyone, all of the other races in the real world. In fact, there's a famous interview where he says it absolutely has nothing to do with the real world. His writings have absolutely. Now, is that because, did he say that because, do you want to read into it that he intended it to, but he knew that he couldn't get published and he knew he couldn't get publicity if he didn't even then? Maybe so, I don't know. But the reality is that even if it was just an accident, that he would be empowering us, men of the West, men and women of the West. That's enough for the anti-whites to move in and say, no, 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 because they know psychological warfare. So they move in. They, of course, they buy this. They see the things. They see how white people get empowered by movies like Rocky. The white guy is in the ring. He's overcoming the odds. He's doing great. Of course, Lord of the Rings, the 300 movie, they observe that is psychological psychological warfare, and they know that that's undermining them and harming them. So, of course, they're going to come in after the fact. And this book, I believe it's pronounced Silmarillion, and the same friend of mine has got me started on this book now. Really fascinating stuff, and I think it speaks to what I've talked about before, that if you could obliterate all of our memories of our stories, our fables, our tales, we would write them all again the exact same way, because it's a product of who we are biospiritually. And that's something that goes from generation to generation. It's always with us. As long as we live, it lives. It's like our countries live in us. They don't live out in the real world. If you take all of the Brits and you put them on the moon, that's where that country is. It's no longer on the little island where they had built it. So the reality is that they want to move in. And yes, I saw this preview, and the female, I don't think there is some female hero in the Silmarillion. And of course, if there's going to be, she's going to be given a supernatural status. No non-white people. And they do mention, I'm told, swarthy men who participate on the side of evil in that story. So that has, what you see here, though, is, of course, they've come in exactly, Mark, we mentioned it exactly as we predicted. They would make everything as anti-white as they possibly could, so that white people watching it will come away thinking what? The anti-white narrative is confirmed. Non-white males and females, they are stronger, faster, smarter, more spiritual, better lovers, on and on and on. And ultimately, you ask, and I'll pass this back so that we can get Greg's input here. Ultimately, I think that they're going to go the direction of the supreme, utter, whatever you can think of as your most anti-white movie. They want to end up with a multiracial good guy cast, ultimately led by, probably at this point in our degeneracy, some really sexually confused and racially, ambivalent sort of a person. And that's going to be like the great leaders, the great strength. And on the good or the bad guy side, if they don't outright make them, white people with a Southern English or German accent, it's going to be somebody with blue eyes. It's going to be somebody with the skull structure of a white person. But this is what I want to leave folks with. It's not enough to complain about what the anti-whites do. We have to combat them. And that means we need our own high fantasy. And we have at least one right here called Prometheus Rising, Take Back Your Destiny. If you want some high fan, and there are others, and I wish the authors' names could come to it. I know Greg will probably know their names. If you want high fantasy, and this is exactly Mark said, what our people crave, and you don't want to be undermined, then things like Prometheus Rising, Take Back Your Destiny, and some that Greg will probably be able to cite for us, is the direction you want to go, and you want to tell our people all about it, especially as they get pissed off over this Lord of the Rings trilogy or whatever. What is it, a series that's coming out, especially as they get angry about that. But with that, I'll pass it back.